All right, so I haven't thought of the topic of today's video yet, but I'll think of one on the spot. So here we go. Creative output. That will be the topic of this video because that's exactly what I just did there. Creative output. So creative output is basically when you force your mind to think of something when you're not actually able to come up with a solid reasoning behind something, so you come up with something on the spot instead. It's like using the creative part of your brain instead of the logical part. Now, the creative part of your brain works when you need to think your way through a situation where you have to be the one kind of building the bridge. You can't just be overcoming a problem that's set in front of you because that requires logic. Logic is like the defense of your brain, and creativity is like the offense of your brain. So creative output is something that requires some sort of aggressive means of I don't know, just conscious thought, critical thinking. That's what creative output is. And it's a pretty vague topic, but it basically means taking the tools that you have and constructing something new out of them. So for example, and I'm not afraid to share this idea because business success is about the execution, not the idea. I'm thinking of setting up a maths course in a couple of years, and the reason I'm thinking of that is because ever since I was younger, I thought that, or I heard that people were just having such a hard time learning maths. So, for example, most of my relatives struggle with maths. They're not able to find resources online to help them with it. They're not able to understand it or get it. They barely even have a basic understanding of it. That's where I come in. I come to help people with learning how to do maths. That's my thought for the future, and I don't think I'm going to give myself dopamine by saying this because it's my brain doesn't really produce much dopamine anyway. So, what I'm going to do is pretty much bring people who go into this program from the ground up, so they can't do any maths at all. They're like a 5-year-old child, and then they until they actually become professor level and they can teach themselves. And the reason for that is I don't really agree with the system of college, just getting hundreds of people in the same room and then making them wait 4 years to get a degree. It's not efficient, and it's certainly not costs. It doesn't. It's not like this cost effective thing. So if I could advertise and sell this program within Ireland and the UK, and especially the US, because the US is terrible for college expenses, then I think I'd have more of a chance of getting it, getting people from the ground up to actually being able to bypass college and sort of have a degree level qualification in maths. Now, that required me not to overcome a possible problem that we kind of did, but because people struggle with maths, but it made me come up with a creative solution to what my business plan for the future is, because I want to sell that course like wildfire. I want I want people to understand what maths is and what it means and why people use it. I want to just make it so accessible for people that no one's ever going to call it difficult again, because people are so afraid of the topic and the subject. It's not going to be a very high price. It's going to be reasonably expensive, but not too expensive. And it's going to be probably, I'm probably going to sell it a load or all around the countries. Hopefully, I get a couple million sales, which will, oh my gosh, if I got a million sales, that would make me like a lot more than a millionaire anyway. But that's besides the point. I don't want to just be thinking about if this gets me a lot of sales or not, though that would be nice. But I want to make sure that I'm gonna work my ass off to create it, and I'm gonna work my whole off to just put whatever I can into it about every topic of maths. I put in freaking algebra, finance, differentiation, integration. Those are really the only topics of maths I know. There's geometry, trigonometry, and what else is there? I said there aren't really many topics in maths to list off, but you get what I mean. Like probability, statistics, all like pretty much everything. Because I'm not getting taught that well in college, and I waited for 6 years to get into this college, and I basically had to teach myself maths. So if I can teach other people around the country and and around the world, then I'm going to fill up such a massive gap in the market that it's just gonna it's gonna freaking revolutionize everything. And again, I'm not afraid to tell you all this. You can all take the idea. I know that none of you have even close to enough pain tolerance to actually execute it in the way I'm intending to execute it, because I have unbelievably stupid amounts of pain tolerance, and I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth and back to do the things I need to do. And for this especially, I will put myself through more pain and misery than I will ever have put myself through before, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best thing since sliced bread in terms of maths learning. And that required so much creativity from me, because it required me to take the things from my surroundings, the doubts, the fears around maths, the suspicions, what intimidated people from this subject. Why is it not for the faint-hearted? And made me craft a solution to these problems, which is innovation in itself, crafting a solution to these difficult problems. And when you craft a solution to a difficult problem, you know what you do? You alleviate pain, and that's when value is created, when pain is alleviated. So another thing I want to talk about is the difference between innovation and creative output, and what would it be? Logic. So logic is when you're taking a defensive stance to solve a problem. That's what logic is. It's basically what maths as a whole is built on, funnily enough, but I'm not really talking about maths in this video, I'm talking about creative output. So logic is seeing what's in front of you now, what thing is challenging you. Like, with logic, the thing is challenging you, but with creative output, you were challenging the thing, so you were the one creating a solution. And that's what I've been doing with another thing, my cold calling scripts. So I come up with different things to say that will get people to laugh or something, or just entertain people, make their day better. For example, I said to one guy on an email, I said to him, "Did you know that the name Alec means defender of the people?" And that probably just caught his attention, because it was so bloody customized and specialized that I had to actually have done some research on his name, or know some amount of knowledge about his name, and it would have caught his attention. So you can do the same thing. Just find out how you can spice up your emails a bit. And you can't do this for every email, but you can do it for some emails, because those emails will usually get a response. Now, another email I sent isn't getting a response. Didn't get a response, but I thought it was just the funniest joke I ever made, and it was on an email. So basically, there was this plumber, and he did plumbing and heating, so he's technically HVAC, right? And I saw his webpage, and at the bottom of it was a couple of testimonials. So then I said, "So you seem to have a good reputation in plumbing and heating, and you've been working for the last 20 years, and you have plenty of testimonials in your plumbing services to back it all up." And then I put in brackets, "Get it?" And there was also something about toilet services as well, but yeah, that was kind of the joke. But it was, I just thought that was so funny, and I was laughing about it for hours. And basically that's how I was creative in that particular moment. And I've had other creative moments as well. My sister gave me the advice to get up at 5 a.m. every morning to study for my final exam, which would have been the Leaving Cert. So that's what I did anyway. But I utilized that creativity to get ahead of people who were trying to do it all in one night and splitting their cognition too much over different subjects. I did it in a way that I was able to optimize my morning energy and my evening coming down berserker energy to get work done as good as possible. And that's another aspect of creativity. So creative output is very important, and I didn't know I'd be making an entire video on this, but it's basically, it's attacking the world with your cognitive efforts and making them diverse. That's what creative output is. And sometimes people say that creativity is needed for ideas, but I think that more creativity is needed for the execution of the ideas, because anyone can come up with an idea, and your idea doesn't even need to be that good, but when you can come up with an execution for that idea, and because the execution is more important, you're going to benefit more from it, because the execution is always going to be more important. And sometimes it takes more creativity to come up with the execution anyway. Like, for example, I'm trying to generate leads, and I'm it's not really that creative what I'm doing, to be honest, but basically I'm gonna run Google Ads for the clients, and I'm gonna use Go High Level to automate the process. So that's creative because it it focuses on two pain points: getting enough leads, and then number two would be qualifying them enough. So that's a creative solution in itself, and it's so creative that it works for millions of agencies all over the world. So not even I was actually using it that much, or not even I had actually came up with it. Someone else came up with it, and I'm taking the idea for my own niche and industry because it's just a really good idea. So yeah, that's another aspect of this creative output thing. You can utilize other people's creativity because, well, usually that's, to be honest, where you're going to get most ideas from. Create the creations of other people who have spent long times in rooms undistracted, and then you can sort of siphon the ideas out of them, not steal them, but use inspiration for them. And that's exactly what I used, and that's what I'm planning on using. Same with cold calling and just any type of method at all. Someone tells you what to do, you obey it, you're utilizing their creative output. Now, this isn't really a sort of practical video, it's more of an idea thing where, you're not just going to go, oh, okay, I should, if I wanted to build my creative output, then I should start cold calling. Not really, but know that you should use creativity to be adaptable in situations where you need to think of something possibly on the spot. For example, if I needed to think of, wow, this, well, actually, no, because that's problem solving. Because problem solving is adapting to problems. But when you need to start something, you need to develop an initial output. You can use problem solver for dealing with the output afterwards, but the initial output should be done through creative output means. Anyway, that'll be the video, and if you have any questions or anything to share, feel free to comment.